Chris. I'm here with some travel tips, specifically related to carrying a battery charger or battery pack with you in your carry-on luggage when you're traveling. So I recently came across a YouTube video which sparked my interest, not sparking in a bad way, no electricity needed for this excitement. I thought, oh, cool, let's learn about that because I'm going to be traveling this summer at least once that I know of and maybe sometime in the fall. So I wanted to know more about what the airlines are requiring. I also found a great website called travelpro.com, and that had some really specific information as well. And it had a nice little table with some things that are allowed and things that are not. So I thought I would bring you what I learned. So when I'm thinking about battery packs, I know that there are lots of models out there that contain different numbers of milliamps. And milliamps, MAH, are the unit of measure basically of how much the battery charger pack can hold. So how much energy does it store for you? And your devices take different amounts of energy, and then you can figure out how many times you can charge that device. And we'll talk about that. So the airlines say it's okay to bring one of these little travel battery packs on board in your carry-on, only in your carry-on, up to 27,000 milliamp hours. And if you're going to kind of be reaching that upper limit, I think I would probably back it down in my own personal opinion to 20,000 hours. But that being said, they come in all different sizes because if the bigger they are, the more energy they can store in general. So I have a little, what I think is a 5,000 milliamp battery charger, and then I believe I have a 10,000. And I know I also have a 20,000 because I may want to charge a bigger device a few times, like as in an iPad mini, for instance. And so I really wanted to know if all of these were allowed. So I know that one of the companies that we really like to talk about their products is AT Guys, for instance. I don't work for them, but I'm also very excited about the products that they sell that are accessible to us. And so I know that they have a 10,000 and a 20,000 milliamp charger, to my knowledge, and those would be perfectly allowed. So when you pack your battery charger pack, you want to consider these things. You want to absolutely limit the possibility of some short circuiting going on in that battery pack for whatever reason. So here are some tips that they gave. They said to keep the battery packs from short circuiting, you want to prevent any of the battery ports coming in contact with the metal items that might be, around, like say some stray metal item, like a fingernail file or, just some stray thing gets into the port. That would be bad news. You also could pack that battery charger in its original packaging, which I don't have original packaging from these things, but you could also pack them in plastic bags, cases, or other dedicated charger pockets. You can also cover those open ports with tape, and that would be a good idea as well. And so when you think about what charger to bring, it's important to consider what devices you'll be charging. And so, for instance, the iPhone 15 Pro, which I'm actually recording this on with a little microphone, it is going to require 3,270 milliamp hours. So if I have a 10,000 milliamp battery pack, I will be able to charge that iPhone 3 times before the battery pack runs out of juice. So if we consider other kinds of things that you would be charging, if you have a Samsung S24 phone, it's a bit more of a battery hog and it requires 5,000 milliamps. So if you only had a 5,000 milliamp charger, you would only be able to charge that phone one time. Now, there are things that require a lot less. For instance, if you were going to charge your Galaxy earbuds, for instance, they only require 472 milliamps. The AirPods Pro case requires 590 milliamps. But then we go back to more devices. An iPad mini requires 5,100 milliamps. So your 10,000 milliamp charger would get it most of the way 2 times. However, if you have an iPad Pro 12.9 inch, that requires 10,700 milliamps. And so that is going to require, a bigger battery charger to fully charge it. And so when you're thinking about either what charger to purchase or which one to bring, you might want to think about what devices you're going to be charging. And so that gets us all the way to thinking about, how to pack these things, how to make sure they're safe. Also make them accessible to the TSA personnel, because you're not going to want to have that thing buried in the bottom of your bag and the scanner sees it and know what's that. And they've got to read how many milliamps and so forth. And whether they all take pains to do that, they should, because you don't want any kind of a fire because the device carries too many milliamps or it's not packed safely. So travelpro.com gave me these tips, and also Mr. ChatGPT offered me the information about how many milliamp hours each of these devices requires so that I know which device to bring with me. So I hope you found this helpful. Travel tips for battery packs. And if you're traveling, happy trip traveling, and we'll see you next time.
Hey all, Marty here, and I got the question, why does my iPhone screen turn off so quickly? I'd like it to be on longer. So let's resolve this problem. What you would do is go into settings, go into display and brightness, then go into auto lock. Once you open auto lock, you're going to see a whole bunch of different settings in there, which is how long you want your screen to stay on for. The very last one is never, which you could choose. I would just say that if you're going to choose never, make sure that you turn off your screen or lock your screen, because you could really wear down your battery because your screen would never turn off. It would always be on. And most people have their phone lock once the screen turns off. So your phone would be draining its battery a lot quicker due to the screen being on, as well as it would be wide open with no security, because if the screen is not off and you have auto lock on, it would not be on. So there'd be no password or anything. So make sure that you are cognizant of that if you choose that. And there you go. That's how you keep your screen on longer.
Hello, this is Michael with your Digital Byte for Sunday, June 1st, 2025. Today we're going to talk about a WordPress plugin. So if you're not in the WordPress ecosystem, maybe you should consider being in there. Or if you are and you've never looked at this plugin, I want to share a little bit about this with you. So the Digital Byte that I have for you today is to explore Gravity Forms. Now, Gravity Forms is a system that allows you to build forms for your WordPress site. And those forms can range from something as basic as enter your name, email address to subscribe to our mailing list, or enter your name, email address, and website comments, to surveys, and you can do quizzes with Gravity Forms. You can even build checkout pages if you have, I don't know, a book you might want to sell to people. You can add the field for the name and the email address and the person's address and their card number, and connect it to your favorite payment processor. For me, it's Stripe. Others like Square. Not too fond of PayPal myself, but that could be integrated as well. Gravity Forms then can send a notification to the person who needs to know, hey, this person just ordered your book, but it can also send a notification to the person who filled out the form and say, hey, here's your book, and you could give them a link that they can download that with. Gravity Forms has some history with building accessible forms. So most of the time, the forms you generate are going to be accessible for screen reader users, and that's very important. There are some gotchas with Gravity Forms, specifically when it comes to reorganizing form fields. So a tip that I want to give people who are interested in exploring this tool is map out how it is you want your form to look and what order you want the fields to be in. And once you've done this, then go in and start adding those fields to the blank form and build that form out the way you need it to be. If you need to reorganize forms, there are plugins out there. Taylor Arndt made a plugin that allows you to independently move fields inside of a form. And if you need to, you can use a service like Ira or Be My Eyes. Here's a quick tip for people who use external services. Set up a username and password specifically for that remote assistance. So most of the WordPress sites I work on have an Ira user. And you give the Ira agent the URL to go log into the website, the username, and the password. And then when they are done, just go in and change that password. And that's how you can keep that secure. So if you're interested in a tool that will allow you to build customized forms, you can even build multi-page forms. If you want an example of that, go look at wcbinfo.org. I think it's their website. I'm looking it up right now just to verify. And their membership form has, it's wcbinfo.org. Their membership form has multiple pages. You can set up sections, which puts headings in between each of the questions if you want. And pretty much build the form you need. There are alternative plugins that you can use with Gravity Forms to extend its functionality. For example, I'm fond of Gravity Wiz, which gives your forms magic. And I'm also fond of Gravity View, which lets you view the content from a form if applicable. So check out Gravity Forms if you're in the WordPress ecosystem and interested in building forms for projects you're involved in. Demasi and I like to say, Gravity Forms solves all your